Welcome, dear learners. I am Ankita Lakra from Department of Commerce. Welcome to this lecture. Today, we will delve into the structural and functional dynamics of public sector enterprises, often abbreviated as PSEs, and the critical role played by small and medium enterprises or SMEs in an economy. In the context of a mixed economy like India, understanding the interplay between state owned entities and smaller entrepreneurial venture is essential for comprehending the broader economic landscape. We will examine the definitions, characteristics, and form of these organizations while also critically analyzing their performance and the policy frameworks that govern them. Let us begin our exploration of these vital economic components. Before we proceed to the core content, let us outline the primary learning objective for this session. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to first understand the meaning, distinct characteristics, and the fundamental objectives underlying public enterprises. Second, you will be able to study and articulate the key differences between private and public sector enterprises. Third, we will learn the specific features and merits of a unique form of organization known as the departmental undertaking. Fourth, we will understand the performance metrics and the evolving policy landscape regarding public sector enterprises. Finally, we will study the crucial role of small and medium enterprises in the economic development of country, focusing on resource allocation for small scale industries. Let us start by defining our subject matter. What exactly do we mean by public enterprises? Commonly referred to as state owned firm or public sector enterprises. These are entities where the ownership and management rest primarily with the government. This could be at the national, state, or even municipal level. The defining metric here is equity. For any entity to be classified as a public enterprise, the government must hold a majority ownership, typically more than 50% of the equity capital. These organizations are not merely businesses in the traditional sense, they are established, financed, and strictly controlled by the government with a specific mandate to serve the public interests. They will operate across diverse sectors such as utilities, transportation, telecommunication, and manufacturing. Their core purpose goes beyond simple commerce. They are instruments of the state designed to provide essential goods and services, thereby acting as catalysts of the country's overall economic development. Now that we have defined public enterprises, we must ask what makes them unique. These organizations possesses several distinct characteristics that differentiate them from their private counterparts. First and foremost is government ownership and control. As the majority shareholder, the government dictates strategic decisions, set policies, and allocate resources. Secondly, there is the aspect of public accountability. Unlike a private firm answerable only to shareholders, a public enterprise is accountable to the public at large. This involves parliamentary scrutiny, government audits, and rigorous public disclosure requirements. Thirdly, these entities are driven by social objectives. While financial sustainability is important, their primary focus is serving the public interest, be it creating jobs or developing infrastructure rather than solely maximizing profits. Fourthly, they adopt a long term perspective. They are generally shaded from the short term profit pressures of the stock market, allowing them to invest in long gestation projects like heavy infrastructure. However, we must also acknowledge a fifth characteristic, that is, bureaucratic procedures. These enterprises often operate under strict red tape intended to secure transparency, but which can sometimes lead to delay and reduced agility in decision making. Why does a government establish these enterprises? The objectives can be broadly classified into economics, social, and strategic categories. The first objective is the provision of essential goods and services. There are sectors like utilities and transportation where high capital requirements or low profit margins might deter private players. The public sector step in to fill these gaps. The second objective is employment generation. These enterprises often prioritize employment welfare and job creation over ruthless efficiency, providing secure employment to a vast segment of the population. Third is balanced regional development. Private capital tends to flow to developed cities. Public enterprises, however, are often deliberately set up in underdeveloped regions to reduce disparities and spur local growth. Fourth involves the mobilization of resources. These entities can access government funds to invest in large scale projects that mobilize financial resources for critical sectors. Finally, there is import substitution and export promotion. By producing goods domestically that would otherwise be imported, they save foreign exchange while simultaneously striving to compete in international markets to boost exports. Let us briefly recap what we have covered so far. We defined public enterprises as government owned entities with over 50% equity held by the state. We identified their key characteristics, including government controls, public accountability, and a focus on social objectives despite bureaucracy hurdles. We also outlined their core missions, providing essentials, generating employment, developing regions, mobilizing resources, and balancing trade. These foundations set the stage for understanding how they differ from the private sector. Fully grasps the nature of public enterprise, it is helpful to contrast them with private sector enterprises. Let us look at the fundamental differences starting with ownership and capital. In a private sector enterprise, ownership lies with private individuals or entities. Think of giants like Reliance Industries or the Tata Group. Their primary aim is profit maximization. In contrast, a public sector enterprise like the Indian Railways or ONGC is owned by the government with the aim of servicing public interest. Regarding the source of capital, private entities raise funds from investors through equity or debt. Public enterprises, however, rely primarily on government funds either through direct investment from the treasury or government guaranteed loan. Moving on to the operational differences. Consider the profit motive. For a private company like Apple, the goal is maximizing shareholder value. For a public entity like the State Bank of India, While profit is necessary, the goal is providing services to all, including the underprivileged. This influences the decision making process. Private firms enjoy agility. They can pivot strategies quickly. Public enterprises, due to their accountability to the state, face a slower, more bureaucratic process requiring multiple approvals. They also affect risk taking and innovation. Private firms driven by competition are more likely to take risks and innovate. Think of Tesla. Public enterprises are generally risk averse, prioritizing stability and social responsibility over experimental innovations. Finally, let us consider autonomy and accountability. Private enterprises enjoy greater autonomy and flexibility. A company like Google can shift strategies without government interference. Public enterprises, however, have limited flexibility due to regulatory constraints. In terms of accountability, private firms answer to shareholders, public enterprises answer to the public and the legislature, demanding a higher level of transparency. Regarding employment conditions, the private sector may offer higher wages and bonuses but with less job security. The public sector is known for providing secure employment, though often with a standardized pay structure. Public enterprises do not all look the same. They are organized in different forms depending on their function and the level of government control required. There are three major forms of organizations: departmental undertaking, statutory corporation, government company. As we move forward, we will discuss the specific features and examples of each of these forms to understand how they operate within the economy. The first and oldest form is the departmental undertaking. They are not independent entities. They are an integral part of the government, organized, financed, and controlled directly by a specific ministry or department. Consider the Indian Railways. It operates under the Ministry of Railways. It does not have a separate legal entity. It is an extension of the government itself. Its finances come directly from the government budget and its revenue goes into the government treasury. The employees are civil servants and the management is bureaucratic. Crucially, the concerned minister is directly accountable to the legislature for the performance of the undertaking. Why would a government choose this strict form of organization? There are several merits. First is the fulfillment of social objectives. Since they are directly controlled, the government can ensure they prioritize services over profit, essential for sectors like healthcare or rail transport. Second is accountability. Being responsible to the legislature ensures transparency and allows elected representatives to scrutinize operations. Third is control over economic activities. It prevents monopolies in strategic sectors. Fourth, they contribute to government revenues, helping fund other welfare schemes. Finally, there is generally little scope for misuse of funds because they are subject to strict government auditing and accounting rules. The second form is the statutory corporation. These are public enterprises created by a specific act of parliament. This act defines their powers and functions. Unlike departmental undertakings, they have a separate legal existence and enjoy operational autonomy. A prime example is the Reserve Bank of India (RBI), established under the RBI Act of 1934. The third form is the government company. This is a company registered under the Companies Act 2013, just like any private firm, but with a key difference: at least 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the government. They function with more commercial freedom. An example is Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, which competes in the industrial sector both in India and abroad. Let us pause to recap this session. We explored three organizational structures. Departmental undertakings, like the railways, are direct extensions of ministries with high control but low flexibility. Statutory corporations, like the Reserve Bank of India, are created by special acts and have a legal autonomy. Government companies like Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited (BHEL) operate under company law with the government as the majority shareholder, balancing control with commercial viability. We will continue Unit 9 in our next lecture. Till then, keep learning. Thank you.